Hello, hello, and welcome to this CBT Nuggets webinar unplugged. This was actually, hi, by the way, my name is Jeremy Cioara. This was actually an idea that we had after probably a couple webinars ago. It seems like when we do webinars, it's always on some kind of theme topic, like I don't know, technology, BGP, switching, whatever it is. And we do the webinar, it's like, 10, 15, 20 minutes. And then we go, okay, well, anyone have any questions? And then there's so many questions at the end that it's just usually, an hour later, I'm like, oh, okay, we get the webinar time slot is that we got to cut it. So I sat with the CBT Nuggets folks and I said, guys, what if we did a webinar that was just questions? And we all kind of looked at each other, that moment of silence, blink, blink, blink. And then we like, that would be pretty cool. And so, themeless, topicless, whatever, whatever question you'd like, obviously, we always steer everything towards technology, but whatever, I am open to just about any question you want to ask. So that being said, I mentioned this via Twitter a couple of days ago. People have just been chatting in questions ever since. So I have a list of questions that I can start with. But there are also plenty of people that are listening to me right now, like someone just chatted in, hi. So if you have a question and you're listening live right now, chat it in via the chat window. I always prefer to answer the questions of those people that are tuned in. And then if there's no other questions, I'll flip over to the ones that I've gotten via Twitter, or if people are still tweeting them literally right now. Someone even asked me to lunch. just a minute ago, I was like, sure, let's do lunch. So so whatever, just bring them in. So I'm going to start off with one of the questions just to get us started that someone chatted in, which actually represents probably about 10 of the questions that I received. The question says, new videos in general, is there going to be a CCNP collaboration certification on CBT Nuggets? And then comes the question on a new CCIE training, a new cyber ops training, a new. One of the things is the trainers are actually, believe it or not, very simple. We do what we've been asked, saying, hey, when we finish the series, I turn to CBT Nuggets and I go, what's next? And they look at me and they go, I don't know, what do you think? And we kind of go back and forth and they go, how about this? And they do it based on the demand that you guys have brought in. So they kind of have a video-o-meter where everybody starts, saying, well, we want cyber ops or we want this. So from my perspective, as I land that plane, I never have any idea of what's coming next outside of the ones that are in progress right now, like CCNP collaboration. The reason I brought that one up is that one is literally in progress right now by one of the newest trainers, who's actually not very new at all. I've been doing all of the collaboration videos until this guy jumped on board. His name is Network Chuck. I know some of you probably know him. If you go to YouTube and just type in Network Chuck, this guy is just great. He's just great. I'm going to leave it at that. And he's been building the CCNP collaboration series for us behind the scenes. I've actually been working with him on it. It's going to be really good. So anyway, tune in for that. But outside of that, when it comes to all the other ones, I'm not too sure on the schedule. So I would just say, well, shoot an email to CBT Nuggets and maybe they could tell you kind of where that is and what time frame they think that's going to be released. So now, so just by that one question, I now have at least 5 questions that have been chatted in. So let me now turn from some of the Twitter questions that I had to some of them that are sitting right in front of me. So Caesar, and if I ever make a mistake on names, please don't hold it against me. Caesar is saying, I'm working on ICND2. After that, which path or focus would you recommend for somebody who's looking to be a network engineer? Thank you, Caesar, for chatting in the question. And I'm also going to combine that. Actually, it's funny that was the first question chatted in. I'm going to combine that with probably 5 other questions that I've received via Twitter, where let me just read you, and this will kind of give you the frame of a general genre of questions that I get asked. A guy from Twitter chatted in. He said, I'm working in the technology domain. I don't really have a vertical yet into what I want to be. Is networking better? Is Microsoft better? And I'm trying to summarize because he's asking, what are all these different paths that I could go? in terms of that. So big picture, where do you get a job? What job can you get? I think that's about as big picture summary as I could go. So first off, I guess let me answer the what vertical or what technology should you land in, and then I'll answer what job you should get, because I think it has to come in that order. The CBT Nuggets mantra that they created is watch, learn, and conquer. And I kind of translated that into my own little version of it. I say learn, do, go. And that go means, what do you want to do? Do you want to go get certified? Do you want to go get a job? Really, one of the things that, and I gotta make sure, let me back up, because sometimes I just jump right past this thing. Everything new, and it goes for me, it goes for everybody. Whenever you're learning something new, it's always hard, and most of the time you won't like it. For example, if you're a Windows person and someone slid a Macintosh in front of you, an Apple computer, Macintosh, an Apple computer in front of you, you would obviously, I'm a Windows person, right? You would probably open it up and just not like it, because where's the control panel? Where's the command prompt? What? There's no ipconfig command? What? Huh? How do I do a release and renew of the address? This is a stupid laptop. You just kind of have this hate for Apple laptops because you just don't know it. Same thing if you're an Apple person, you come back into the Windows world and you're like, well, where's my bouncing icon in iMovie to waste my life? I don't know where that came from. So anyway, you just don't like what you don't know, right? But that's where you have to push past that. And then the more you push past that and discover things, the more you're like, oh, this is cool. Okay. And so this is where I'm going, right? Caesar, Muhammad, a lot of people have asked a similar question. You start learning it and you start developing, I would say, initially kind of a like for it. And then the more and more you learn, the more and more you love it. That's why people, you hear, like one of the guys I work with, he goes, I love history. And I'm like, well, that's great. How did you get that way? But I know it's just, he got into it and he read and he discovered and he went to the site of one of the wars and he's like, man, this is awesome. And before long, he's like, I really love this. So you watch, you learn, then you go, which that's where you start developing a passion for it. And then that's the first vertical. That's the first job that you go after. Now, going more directly to Caesar's question, where do I go to get a job as a network engineer? Well, that's a tough one, because network engineering is usually a pretty scary place to be. Meaning, when you're a business, you don't usually look around and say, well, let's see, who can I find that really doesn't have much experience in this, that we can pretty much turn the whole fabric of our enterprise over to have a go at it, right? Now, it's usually they when it comes to the network, it's so critical that they're just kind of like, well, let's get somebody with a few years, or let's get a consultant, or let's do that. So usually when people are first getting into networking, I usually say you gotta kind of earn your stripes, get into cabling first and start touching some of the network equipment, start gaining some of the experience, make the mistakes that take down networks, make the mistake. I mean, it's gonna happen. I guarantee you're gonna make a mistake. You're gonna cause something bad to happen. You learn from that and you grow, and that's when you start progressing into that world. So maybe start as a Microsoft admin and or help desk or something that gets you into the industry, but doesn't put you in, so going back to your question, Caesar, I'm looking to be a network engineer. Well, you're not going to start that way. A network engineer represents, you gain that engineering title not from a certification, although you could say I'm a, whatever. You gain that from doing it and gaining the experience around that. So learn, develop a passion for it, develop a real interest in it, and then go. If you don't develop an interest and you just start doing it for, hey, well, I think that one makes a lot of money, you're gonna find yourself in a job in a lot of years that you're just like, why am I doing this? And that's no good. So next question. Nestor, man, all these questions are coming in. This is great. So Nestor from Canada, what is the best data center certification? What is happening with Cisco service provider certification right now? Well, the whole thing is changing, as technology always does. If so when it comes to the best data center, the best service provider, I would group all that and say, have a look at the new cloud certifications. And that hurts me because I created a lot of the service provider, and I know that we have Anthony who created some of the data center certifications on CBT Nuggets. I don't think we have the Cisco cloud certifications yet, but that's kind of where things are going. You know, service providers, data centers, it's all moving into this big cloud, which really is service providers and data centers. So that's if I were to say, for somebody that's looking to get into the future of where things are going, then go with that Cisco cloud certification. If you're looking like, man, I want to get into a service provider, I want to get into data, you know, for instance, I've talked to and maybe one of them are listening. I'm literally next to a place called IO Data Center that was I think they were just acquired by Iron somebody. But anyway, there's a ton of students there that have got in touch with me, and they literally work at a data center. So obviously, if you are going that direction, data center certification is the way to go. Okay, so next up. I see one of the people submitted a question, and then the little thing says, has left. Well, I'm not answering your question, buddy. Kelvin is saying, is it better to work first in a consulting company before you can become your own consultant? No, I don't think so. I think that the world works around relationships. So if you are wanting to break into the industry and you have a good relationship with some people that are, you know, that's how a lot of things start. Hey, you know, we're having some trouble with that. Oh, let me take a look. You find it's not easy. You research and learn, and you're, oh, I fixed it. Haha. You know, well, let me pay you for that. Oh no, we don't. You know, don't just, you know, or whatever that, you know how that rolls, right? So that would be one of the ways. So you can start becoming your own consultant if you have a lot of good relationships, and have that fearless way about you. Just so I explode with information anytime somebody asks a question. At my church, they said, hey, we've got our Easter services coming up, and they had a big stack of the little invitation cards. So I went out to the lobby and I grabbed literally a stack, and they're like, whoa, what are you doing with those? I was like, I'm going shopping at Costco. And so I took me and my boys, we went to Costco, and literally as I'm going through the aisles with a cart, throwing all my normal groceries in there, I'm just taking a card to people that walk by. I'm like, hey, come to church for Easter. Hey, come to church for Easter. I mean, I'm just passing them out. And, some people are like, oh, what are you trying to sell me? All that other kind of stuff. But my point in that is that's just who I am. I'm like, hey, let me just, get in your face and be goofy and, make a joke about it, and let's have fun. If you're that kind of personality, maybe you don't need to jump into a consulting company first. Maybe you create some little cards and you go shopping at Costco and you're like, hey, I'm a network admin. Hey, I'm a network admin. Hey, I'm a Microsoft. Hey, I can support your network. Just start handing out cards. It's just a numbers game. The more you hand out and the more smiles you bring to people's face, eventually somebody will be like, hey, I need a network admin. What about that guy in Costco anyway, you see where I'm going, right? So all based on your personality. Mitch is saying, is there a new CCNA cyber ops training video on the CBT Nuggets roadmap? Yes, I think so. That goes back to the first question, the earlier question where I said, I'm not too sure of the schedule. Yes, I know that's a lot. There's a lot of demand around CCNA cyber ops. I don't know the time frame. Nanche is saying, sometimes I get overwhelmed because people tell me I need to learn networking, security, system admin, cloud computing. Do I really need to have a deep understanding of these technologies to be a successful Linux administrator? I'm currently a junior Linux admin and I've passed CCENT already. Nanche, I don't think so. I really don't. And I'll partner that with when I got into AWS. This was early on when AWS was first becoming a thing. I went to a class just like most people, and I actually went to a place where I sat next to a guy and I introduced myself. I'm like, hi, I'm Jeremy from CBT Nuggets. I'm going to be creating some AWS training. And a couple of people in the room were like, hey, I know you. And I was, oh yeah. And so you kind of have the fanfare initially, but that as the class started progressing, I realized the guy next to me was like untouchable. He was a guy, I think he was from England. spoke with the accent, like everything from networking to cloud-based virtual machines to, I mean, like everything, like coding. He was coding, and he was a network admin, and I finally turned to him, I'm like, how do you know this stuff, man? What? I'm like, how do you know all this stuff? And I'm a trainer, and I'm paid to learn, and I don't know as much as you. And you know what he just turned to me, he goes, well, you know, I just do stuff, and I right and right, you know. I don't know, I sound like the crocodile hunter, but that's kind of how it is. It's like, if you're a Linux admin and that's what you want to be, then be a Linux admin. And eventually you're going to run into a point, and it's awesome because you said, Nanshe, that you said you're a CCENT as well. You'll reach a point where you'll run into a Linux problem that isn't quite a Linux problem, and you'll start researching. You're like, oh, it's something with a network. My ping, okay, I'm pinging, it's not going through. Huh? And so then you start branching in the network world. You start learning that, and then, oh, my Linux server has to replicate to has to do an open VPN connection and accept outside. You see where I'm going, right? The longer you go being a Linux admin, you will learn other stuff. It's just the way of things. You don't have to branch into all the things. Matter of fact, branching into everything is a sure sign that you're not going to learn everything. You're not going to know it all. You can't. There's so much technology, you just can't literally fit it in your head. All right, next question. I love the IT experts video, says Clinton. Any plans to do sessions on security? Thank you for the love. So IT expert, just so you know, that was an idea that I came up with, and I'm running with. I love it, simply because some of you know this story, and I'm not going to spend time on this because I've said it in other webinars. About 7 years ago, I moved from just training into running a company. I now have a company that's 25 people, full-time employees. It's kind of overwhelming, kind of fun, all at the same time. So when I did that, I realized, oh my gosh, there's a gap, a big gap between passing certification exams, setting up lab equipment, and literally doing this in the real world. And so after years of doing it, I was like, oh man, I've got to create training that's like, you know, there's no test for it, but guys, heads up, this is going to be what it's really like. And I literally grabbed a GoPro camera, and I'm like, let's go. And so I went into a whole bunch of environments and set up different networks. And literally, it was kind of like, it's like reality TV for meets network training. So it's kind of like things blow up, things go well. How do we solve it? All those kind of things. So that's the IT experts. Any plans to do a series focused on security? Probably, but it's not, I would say it's not currently on my short game, but security will eventually come. Okay, so next up, scrolling down, hi Mohammed. Hi, okay, CCIE material will be retired. Well, okay, same thing. When is the new CCIE available? I don't know. It's scheduled. Check with CBT Nuggets. I don't know the schedule. Mitch is saying, why is an employer looking for real-world certificate, or sorry, why are employers looking for real-world experience even though we have certifications when applying for jobs? That's ironic. That's almost exactly why I created the IT Expert series. That's what I was saying, is there's a gap. Certification is great, and it teaches you a ton of stuff, but there is a gap between certification and real world. And what I realized is, if you're certified, when you get into the real world, you probably have a 1 year, oh my gosh, what is that guy or gal going to do to my system time frame? Because you're going to have like, okay, wow, I just blew that up. Wow, ooh, I didn't see that coming. Oh my gosh, before I took that down, I had to communicate to who? I didn't know they needed to know that I was going to reboot that switch. You know, what all of those kind of things. There's a learning curve. So that's why, Mitch, employers are looking for a lot of real world experience, even though you have certifications. Mark says, I don't have a question, but tuned in because I love your enthusiasm. Love the courses you do. 2 thumbs up. Thanks, Mark. Seriously, I love it too. And it's one of the Twitter questions I got was someone said, hey, I'm really wanting to be an instructor. Did you go to any kind of training, or what books did you read to become an instructor? And it's funny because I stopped for a moment and I go, I don't think I've ever read a book. And I said, that's ironic. I should go read some books on how to do this. It's just, when you start really loving what you do and you start loving helping other people, and those two combined together, it's ta-da, anybody can become an instructor. And that's kind of what happened to me. How do I keep focused? Oh, this is a good one, I think. Let me read the rest of it. Nanche is saying, how do I keep focused on one path? I want to learn networking, system administration, VMware, cloud computing. Okay, so it's a long list, right? Is what it is. How do I keep focused on one path? And that is, that's tough. I'm gonna be honest with you. This is actually a major weakness of myself, and so I'm gonna tell you what I know, and I'm gonna tell you what I do, and they're two different things. I know if you don't stay focused, if you start getting into something and you start Googling about it, and then that leads you to something else, and that leads you to something else, and you're like, oh, and before long, you're going to be setting up, open source documentation systems at the same time as you're trying to build a network monitoring. And at the end of the day, and this is what I do, and it's a struggle. I'm trying to get past it. I'm kind of in my circle right now. Hi, my name is Jeremy Cioara. I am an inattention addict. I hate that, and I love that about myself. I love getting into the and then check, and I mean, you can even hear me talking. It's like ingrained into the very being that I am. But I will say, if you don't remain focused, if you don't keep your eyes forward on what you're doing, don't turn to the left, don't turn to the right, mark the steps out in front of you. If you listen to anything that people will tell you about how to move forward in life, that's it. Don't get distracted, set your goal and go after it. If you don't, then you're going to be a scattered-brained goofball. Which what did I just say about myself? It's kind of where it is. So and that's one of the things I've really been trying to discipline myself in the last few years, to just say, okay, this is my focus. That's what I'm going after. Everything else gets a no until then. So going to what you're saying, Nanche, you have a ton of stuff you want to learn, and I love your enthusiasm, but you got to pick one. You got to pick two. You got to pick, a focus set that you can move forward with without getting distracted. So that's it. Okay. Let's see. What is your next series? Oh, next series on IT experts. Good question. I can't quite say your name. Manakita, forgive me. IT expert. I'm actually focused on Office 365 right now, which I know a lot of people are like, what are you doing? Why would you even touch that? You're a network guy. Well, the reason why is not because it's quote unquote hard. It's because, again, I'm in the IT expert world, and I saw a huge need. I see people rolling out cloud stuff everywhere, Office 365, Google Cloud, name your cloud, right? Everybody's rolling it out, and it's just going really bad because they're like, hey, everybody, new meeting. We've got OneDrive, we've got Google Docs, and people are like, oh, that's cool. And before long, you just have a mess of stuff. It's like a shared drive gone bad. Where everybody's sharing everything, and it's a nightmare. So I was like, man, I want to show people how to do that well. So I'm doing that, and then after that, I'm probably going to go back into the networking world. I kind of left off the last networking series in IT experts by saying I'm going to go subnetting, I'm going to go VLANs, I'm going to show you what you really need for the real world, and I haven't gotten back there. So software-defined networking, I see someone else saying that would be a great one, and yes, it would. Okay, so let me look at a few more. A lot of questions. So okay, so here's another one. Certification. I started with the CCIE in mind. After the CCENT, that's my direction. I realized that a lot of people are getting certified through illegal ways, and that affects me a lot. I'm not able to concentrate on the certification exam. Is it worth? Sorry, the English is a little. Is it worth to spend time in my? Okay, is it worthwhile to go get certified? And that's a great question, and I'm sure a lot of you are wondering that. Is it worthwhile to get certified when there's all kinds of people brain dumping or scamming the exam? Then I mean, I'm not going to sit here and list the ways to scam, but I'm in 20 years of doing certification, I know them. I know all the ways that people try to scam the exam, and does it devalue the certification? Yeah, but. So first off, I'm going to combine that with one of the earlier questions where someone said, Why do people want real world experience along with my certification? Well, that's one of the reasons why, is because they may have hired a certified person that scammed the exam, and it's, they're kind of like, okay, I need to know a little bit more. So first off, on the illegal side of things, and I know I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to the other person who will listen to this on the recording later. It'll find you out. I mean, if you are scamming the exam, I mean, don't hear me say like, haha, I'm watching you. There'll be people kicking down their door. I'm telling you, there are something. I just literally, before I jumped in here, I was like, oh, I'm waiting. I popped up in the news and I found out there was a guy in Texas who I guess was bombing people, and they caught him and he blew himself up in the car. And I'm like, man, that's so lame. But it finds them out. I mean, when you're blowing up people with mail bombs, it's gonna find you out. And there are some things that have that immediate impact, like done. And you could name them a thousand. You drive like a maniac, you're going over a bridge, right? It's probably gonna happen. But there are some things that have a slow grading impact. And when people cheat on certification exams, it is going to be there are some universal truths that eventually they're going to feel empty, and they're going to be like, what's the meaning of life? This was so lame. Why did I do this? Or they're going to get into a job and 2 months in, someone's like, oh my gosh, you don't know a thing. It's going to find it's so that being said, and it's funny. I'm looking. One of the one of the questions that came in on Twitter. Someone said, "Did you know that many of your videos are available in torrent format? What do you say about that?" I don't know what to say. I mean, I'm kind of like, well, it's there, and obviously the videos I create supports me, my family. It supports all the families of CBT Nuggets, and when people download them, but it happens. It's one of those things that it's like, okay, it's there, and I don't know what to say. It's like, well, if that's what people choose to do. Although I have had people email me, they're like, hey, I downloaded your videos on torrents, and you said there was some files that you would send us. Can you send those to me? I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. But you get the point, right? And so enough on that. Caesar is saying, maybe a hard question, but I've been in IT for about 4 years. I'm currently a system admin, but I live in Puerto Rico. Do you think I would have better opportunities in the USA? I don't. Good question. I don't know, and I actually get this question a lot because I know a lot of people overseas, in India. Actually, a lot of people have emailed me saying, "Hey, I want to go to the U.S. and get a better opportunity." And I don't know. I guess I don't know what the market's like in Puerto Rico. I don't know what it's like in India. I will say that technology is getting into the technology field. And by the way, if you ever wonder, why did you build a company, Jeremy? Why didn't you just stay a trainer? Main reason why is because I wanted the opportunity to change lives. I wanted the opportunity to bring people in, teach them technology, and then say go. And it's one of my passions, is to get people started. But it's hard. It's really hard because and I'm not even going to go into all that, but the opportunity, I see the opportunities, and maybe this is where you're at, and maybe that puts you and I in the same place. I see the opportunities. I see the people that have needs, and I even myself, I go in and I'm like, oh, and we could do this and we could do that, and as excited I am, sometimes I'm like, well, no, it's too risky. We don't want to go that way. Or you're going in for a new job. Well, thanks for applying, and it's kind of depressing. So it's kind of like, well, what do you do? And the answer is, I go back to my. It's funny, I didn't know it would go this way. It's a numbers game, honestly. You're in Costco handing out little cards, inviting people to Easter at church, right? It's a numbers game. You got to know that if you hand out 100 cards, maybe one will come. Maybe it's that's just keep handing them out. Some people just to draw a parallel. I'm in Costco. I'm handing out these cards. My boys are with me. Some people are like, they almost want to start a debate. I hand them a card. They're like, what do you do? And I'm like, hey, no, just shop and hand out cards. Just move right along. It's like, my kids are with me. Let's go, guys. So you're gonna get that. It's gonna be kind of like, okay, am I gonna let that bum me out or not? So you're gonna apply for 1,000 jobs. You're gonna be employed, in Puerto Rico, and you're like, oh, I don't see anything else available, and it's one of those. It's a numbers game. Just keep applying. Just keep. I mean, you're in Puerto Rico, but we live in a borderless network world. Matter of fact, I was just talking to a network admin who's been doing it for a little while, and he's like, "I'm going on the road." And I go, "What do you mean?" He's like, "I'm buying an RV, and I'm gonna work on the road and take my family around the whole country with a vision to eventually go to other countries and drive around in this RV and just see the world." And I'm like, that is awesome. I could never do that, but that is awesome that he could have that ability with his career, because it's a mobile career. We live in a land. You see where I'm going, right? Okay, okay. Yep. Focus, right? So, okay, a bunch of other questions on courses that will be coming up. Are not saying I get distracted by other tracks so often, and I am right there with you. I live in Austin, Texas. That's kind of scary. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. That I know what I'm talking about. Actually, it's funny. A guy flew up to CBT Nuggets to hang out and meet me. His name was Dallas, and he also lived in Austin, Texas. Figure that one out. Kelvin, you're right about using dumps. Use them once, it's worthless. At the end of the day, you'll not have any innovative way of performing your job better. I actually had to go back and restudy the material, make more research, feel satisfied about really getting certified. So yes, thank you. That's actually perfect. Okay, so we're 2 minutes over, but let me squeeze in. Let's see. Would you recommend? Okay, so let me squeeze in one more question. It says, would you recommend an upgrade to CCNP after CCNA routing switching, or doing another cert like CCNA security? That's actually a good question. I get that one a lot. Do I become a jack of all trades, like a CCNA specialist, where I get CCNA security, CCNA collaboration, CCNA cloud? Or do I go deep and become an expert in CCNP and CCIE and all that? What I would suggest is, if you are getting a job, like you're looking to break into the field of network technology or collaboration or whatever the case is, go the CCNA specialty route, because it'll make you more marketable. People are like, oh, collaboration, security, well, that's great. You know a lot about a lot. Most employers, well, I won't say most, some of them don't even know the difference between CCNA and CCNP. They just want to know that, do you have this, and do you have the aptitude to learn? Once you get the job will most likely not be spread across a zillion things, although some of them are. But from there, then you specialize. You specialize in the technology that'll help you do your job better, that'll help you grow in that career. Or maybe there's technologies that your company wants to roll out. They want to do video collaboration. They want to set up a conference room that has, what, yada, yada. Then you can know which area to specialize in and go deeper. Good. Okay, cool. Well, that is the first Q&A session, which it's hard for me because I'm like, but there's more questions. There are more questions rolling in. So what we'll do is we'll probably answer those via Twitter, or include those to start off the next Q&A sessions. But as of right now, we are out of time. This whole thing is going to be recorded. They'll post it on the CBT Nuggets blog. I really want to know what you thought, because this is the first time we have just done an open Q&A forum session. I'd love to hear your thoughts on, would you like more of these? Did you not like it? Did you like it? Would you rather have, let me know, because I thought it was a lot of fun, and I like doing these kind of things. Cool. So tweet it, text it, email it, let us know, and I will see you around next time. Thanks a bunch for coming, guys. Have a great Wednesday.